Broncos, and then remain repping for the Broncos, and then remain repping for the Broncos.
Oh, welcome to Movies for Babies Nights. We're here. We're all the bosses have gone to sleep, and now the mice will play.
Welcome to Movies for Babies. I am one of your hosts, Justinius.
And I'm Vernanus.
And I'm Kevimulus.
Regardless, I don't know how you guys feel about the movie, but regardless of how you guys feel about the movie, you have to admit, Trajanus every time is a very funny line.
We will, in case these cuts aren't deep enough for you folks, the movie that we watched for today is Gentlemen Broncos.
The movies that we have babied today is the Jared Hess joint Gentlemen Broncos. One
of my favorite movies ever, and it gets better every single time I watch it. His third feature film. He had 2 short films before Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, are we talking Hess? Are we talking Hess?
I think we're breaking into the Hessography here.
Oh, the Hess heads are coming out.
All aboard, we're on the Hess Express, a chain of gas stations in Florida. The Hess Express, here we are.
I'm on my favorite game show, Hess Who?
We ain't talking Howard Hesseman. We talking Jared Hess.
You know, when I invited him over to my place one night, and I said, Hess, who's coming to dinner?
I was at his baptism, and I said, God bless this Hess.
When I was shopping for electronics, he came with me, and we talked to a guy in a blue shirt, and I said, Hess, bye. We're talking Hess. It's Hess time.
My favorite George Harrison solo song is The Wreck of the Hesperus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoo! For some reason, that's what broke me. So Jared Hess,
yes.
Inarguably one of the most successful indie directors of his decade, whose debut feature, one of the most successful debut features of all time.
Certainly the 21st century.
Certainly of the 21st century, right? In the millennium, it's one of the big independent success stories, perhaps only beaten by Juno, as far as breakout, low-budget indie movies of the 2000s.
I would argue that while Juno had critical acclaim, Napoleon Dy-No-mite, a movie that does not exist anymore.
Excuse me, Justin. Justin, were you asleep in 2012 when the Napoleon Dynamite animated series hit Fox? Were you fucking taking a little catnap?
Oh, but no, this movie was a cultural institution.
It was Absolutely. A juggernaut. It was Vote for Pedro t-shirts were. They were the new tuxedo t-shirt. They were fucking everywhere, you know?
One of the cultural landmarks of the Bush administration.
Right, of the... Well, everyone...
I hate how accurate that is, but yeah.
One of the...
What? The movie about people... the movie about people, like, fussing over past regrets and, like, missed opportunities, trying to live out their fantasies disastrously in the real world?
In a post-Matrix society, the first movie to break out from underneath that thumb was it's one of those movies where you look at it and you're like, this was a fucking, like, box office juggernaut? This movie? Not quality-wise. This movie was, like, our generation.
This is something that's only happened, like, that I'm aware of, like, with The Shining and with Exorcist Part 2. But this movie, while it was in theaters, they called it back for reshoots and shot a new scene of the movie, the
wedding.
Napoleon Dy-No-mite. They shot the wedding between LaFonda and Kip while the movie was in theaters.
And you can tell, because they actually had, like, a halfway decent camera to shoot the wedding scene. Like, they could afford the good rental for that day. And
they re-released the theater. Well, they didn't re-release. Its theatrical run was so long, they were able to, kind of what they did with Cats, they were able to patch the movie and release a new cut with the...
Napoleon Dy-No-mite was the Cats of the aughts.
They released Napoleon Dy-No-mite 1.2, patch notes. We inserted new DLC of Kip's wedding.
They edited out all the buttholes from the cut.
Yes.
Oh shit!
I guess that movie, Napoleon Dy-No-mite, got patched twice because when it was premiered at Sundance, it did not have the opening credits sequence of the dinner plates that "We're Gonna Be Friends" by the White Stripes.
Yeah,
that was added in after MTV bought the distribution rights, and then while it was in theaters, then they added the wedding, so it got patched twice. Napoleon.
Wow,
that's absolutely. That's fucked up in a good way. I love how fucked up that is.
Absolutely.
That they were making the money for the movie to, like, finish the movie as people were watching it. You know what I mean? It feels like it honestly. Yeah. We make jokes about video games, but that's how a lot of, like, big video games are released now. Is that they release
the movie in alpha.
They released the alpha build, and then they bought, and then, like, pre-orders for Napoleon Dy-No-mite gave them enough money to, like, actually finish fucking Napoleon 2077, Like, they were like, shit, this ain't done. But
Well, what's great now is that you can now buy a season pass to Napoleon Dy-No-mite.
And you can get
he does different dances in the climax from Fortnite.
You get all the builds as it comes out. You don't have to pay each individually. But that was like, it was a fucking juggernaut.
It was everywhere.
And Justin is right that it did fade from the cultural consciousness. As movies became something that is very different from Napoleon Dy-No-mite. It did sort of rescind back from culture until, of course, the short-lived animated series, which debuted like 8 years after the movie came out, and has a completely different sense of humor.
Yeah.
It has
does everyone sound 8 years older.
Yeah, exactly. It is, I think, all the original cast, if I remember the Napoleon Dy-No-mite animated series, and I do.
It is the original cast. There's one joke that feels very much like the original movie, and that is there's an episode where it involves the FFA, and it's Napoleon and Pedro, and they're competing in some, like, FFA competition, and they're doing, like, soil tests, and they ask Pedro, how is the soil, and he's like, it's pretty good, I guess, which is very much a Napoleon Dy-No-mite joke.
Yeah, whereas most of the jokes on the Napoleon Dy-No-mite animated show were, here's the one that I remember, someone is getting a titty twister, and they scream, reverse, and their nipples reverse direction, breaking the hands of the bully who is giving them a titty twist. That's what I remember from the Napoleon Dy-No-mite, the animated series. Now, that might give you the idea that show was good. I would like to tell our audience right now, it wasn't. Don't think it's not Clerks, the animated series.
It sounds like a proto-Big Mouth.
I enjoy it. It's different from Napoleon Dy-No-mite the Napoleon Dy-No-mite that I love and cherish. It's a different flavor of Napoleon Dy-No-mite. It's bizarre that it took 8 years to make it a thing on TV, and this will come up later on in our discussion, I'm sure. But, like, how do I put this? I have to use an uncouth example here, and I do apologize for that. But, like,
okay,
the album Thriller by Michael Jackson was one of the biggest albums of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Jackson spent his entire career trying to top that album, and every album he did was well received after that, but it was still considered like a failure in comparison to Thriller. And he kind of like tried to distance himself from that album, and I wonder like how much of that Jared Hess tried to do with how big Napoleon Dynamite was, so like he wouldn't feel like a one-trick pony. And I kind of wonder that like one of the things I think that's kind of haunted Jared Hess in his filmography is the critiques of his movie either being it feels too much like Napoleon Dynamite or it's not enough like Napoleon Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if like that whole move to make that show was just like I wonder if it was the Godfather 3 move with Francis Ford Coppola, where it's like, I want money to keep doing the thing that I enjoy doing. I don't want to do this, but this will be a huge windfall financially for me.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was something like that.
That's what sounds most likely, just because, like Kevin said, the sense of humor in it is so wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even just for a season, a consistent series of checks that Hess can cash.
Mm-hmm,
and let's, I'm not meaning any disrespect, but like that cast doesn't necessarily book big 8 years later either. The exception of Diedrich Bader, most of that cast disappears sort of gradually, and you might see John Heder every now and again, but like I feel as if Heder was hot for like 4 years up through like Blades of Glory, and then I didn't see him again until a cameo on Comedy Bang Bang, the television show.
I was thinking of the exact same.
And then I never saw him again, so Scott Aukerman might have killed him. Scott Aukerman, like, John Heder might not be alive. And that's sort of what happened to everyone. Even though, and we'll get to it, the main cast of this movie it's like a Bizarro universe Napoleon Dynamite cast. But we'll
I feel like the best for those of listeners too young to have seen Napoleon Dynamite, like its aesthetic is the best way I can describe it is flyover country strange.
Yeah,
it's an uncanniness to find in stillness and quietness, where it's weird because something happens and nothing else happens because that's the only thing that's happened in a uncomfortable amount of time.
And it has this weird, like, and I can't stress enough that, like, Napoleon Dynamite was huge. And it might be, like, one of the last things in our lifetime that will ever be huge in that kind of way.
That isn't, a branded Marvel movie or something.
Or is that self-empoweringly weird?
Yes. I don't think, like, we have things that are big and they are things burn very hot and fast now, whereas Napoleon Dynamite was like a log on the fire, where a lot of things are like paper going up in flames.
Yeah,
but like 4
or 5 years.
But Napoleon Dynamite had this weird thing, I think, talking about what you were saying, Justin, about its air about it, and then like the middle of the country loved it because it is exactly what real life is like for middle of the country. And then the sides of the country liked it because it's so bizarre and
Coastal
so weird.
Elites were laughing at those podunk fools.
So, like, two different cross sections of the country both loved this movie for very different reasons. And like when their powers combined, it was this big.
We get the TV show.
We get the TV show. We get like Hollywood like knocking down Jared Hess's door, and because like Nacho Libre comes very shortly.
2
after,
years later.
Yeah.
He's 2 years later. He's making a Jack Black movie. Jack Black at the height of his powers, like
For
this is-
Nickelodeon.
right? Yeah, for Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon saw that MTV raking in Napoleon Dynamite money, and they were like, yes, please. And then they make Nacho Libre, a movie which I'm like, Jack Black is playing a Mexican wrestler. I've never seen the movie, but even in 2006, when I was 14, I was like, can they do that? Can they?
As someone
Can
who
Jack
watched
Black
it,
play
it's
a
not-
luchador?
It's about a Catholic missionary
Oh.
and monk who dreams of breaking the again this is a very Midwestern story imposed onto Mexico of a guy who is stuck in a suppressive environment who just wants to live out his fantasy life in a way with like freely and without judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I was like, racial element aside, I never got around to Nacho Libre, which I think was a sizable enough hit. You know, it did fairly well.
Absolutely.
And then
I think again, like, it was very big, but like it was like the album Bad after the album Thriller. It was like, yeah, this is great, but this is not.
it's
This thing is
like,
huge, but it's not the big thing that came before it.
It's
So
Mallrats after Clerks. It's
Yeah.
any number of examples.
It's Jackie
of-
Brown after Pulp Fiction.
right? Which like Jackie Brown fucking whips, but it was
absolutely.
it was not viewed that way at the time.
No.
And I'm sure we can think of any number of examples of like, oh, we come off the big number one hit and then kind of a lukewarm sophomore outing from
Yes.
Iron Man to Iron Man 2.
Christ.
And
Iron Man
there's-
to Incredible Hulk later that year. Did not golf. Failed to golf.
And it's not a thing where like it's the craziest thing where like I'm positive Nacho Libre did very well financially. I'm positive it was probably number one at the box office whenever it came out for at least a couple weeks. But despite that, it was still
The
considered a
problem
failure.
with Nacho Libre is it opened behind Cars.
Oh, gotcha.
It opened behind Cars, but when all was said and done, it pulled in $80 million at the box office.
Yes.
Yes.
$100 million worldwide.
Which
No,
is
but I do
amazing
think it's
money.
more of a Iron Man Speed Racer situation.
Right, where both of those movies exist simultaneously. One is about like how art must persevere within these systems and how hard it is to maintain your integrity in the business of the thing you love. And then the other one is Iron Man, which shoots Speed Racer dead in the street, which just like blows it up like so many anonymous terrorists in the film Iron Man. Just
Well,
like
no. Iron Man and Cars do have the same overall story of going outside of the system you once benefited from that might have been negative, and then just repurposing the system to realign with your supposed morals while changing your behavior none at all.
I'm sorry, I was talking about Speed Racer. But yes, any number. Cars is 2 years pre Iron Man. But anyway, it's immaterial. Nacho Libre comes out, big hit, and his third outing is the movie we are here to discuss, Gentlemen Broncos, and this is I will not use the phrase beginning of the end, but the success doesn't come anymore after starting with this one. And I am not using that as an arbiter of quality, because there are plenty of fucking directors I love who like just get completely overlooked for whatever reason and nobody goes to see their movies. Edgar Wright was in that place for a long time where it was like, these movies are fucking great. Why is nobody going to see them? But anyway, but then like Gentlemen Broncos, then it takes him like 6 years to make another movie.
Yeah,
with-
and that goes straight to View on Demand.
Yeah, Don Verdean.
Which is also a super good movie.
He keeps pulling down excellent casts. Like he manages to keep these great casts, and he starts getting like a little stable of actors because Sam Rockwell and Jermaine Clement return for Don Verdean. And then a few years after that is Masterminds, like with Zach Galifianakis and Jason Sudeikis, Kristen Wiig,
Owen
you know,
Wilson.
various SNL cast-offs. A movie that I do not know anyone who has seen. And then he's off to Netflix now with the Murder Among the Mormons.
Yes. A thing that was, because I live in Utah now, was super hyped. But
Mormons
yeah,
were
it's
fucking ready.
It's a weird. If I could ever meet Jared Hess, I would be the only person in the history of Earth whose first question would be about Gentlemen Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't, again, I don't know how familiar, or maybe this is based on familiarity with his filmography, but like, I get big autobiographical vibes from Gentlemen Broncos, and I feel like, how do I put this? It's like Napoleon Dynamite is like neutral. Nacho Libre is like Jared Hess for the good, and Jared Hess using his powers for good, and like Gentlemen Broncos is like Jared Hess using his powers for evil almost. There's this kind of like sinister kind of like twang to it, and there's this kind of like bittersweetness to it that I'm very intrigued by. And
Well, it's a deeply cynical movie.
yes, that's what it is, as a cynicism. And this makes it sound like it's a joyless movie, and that's not at all the case. But there's just there's some heavy themes and some heavy things that Jared Hess, the guy who created Napoleon Dynamite, is dealing with. And I kind of wonder if just like maybe the success stopped because like people were not ready for this. People weren't expecting the goofy Napoleon Dynamite guy to like make a kind of dour at times movie about art. I don't know.
My experience watching Gentlemen Broncos was kind of interesting for me because I was growing. I never liked Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay.
I never did. Okay. In no small part because growing up, I was told I was just like the protagonist, which when I watched the movie and see this even as a child, I knew this fucking horrible loser that no one likes and visibly can't relate to anyone, much less anyone relate to him. I was like, fucking, why? Why would you say that to me like it's a good thing? Like, thanks for the Liger Hot Topic t-shirt, but this is not a compliment to me.
Justin, when you fucking carry around tater tots in your zip-up pocket, you gotta anticipate that people think you're Napoleon Dynamite.
And maybe it's because I meet Justin, 15 years after Napoleon Dynamite comes out, a decade after it comes out. I do not see a shred of Napoleon Dynamite in my friend Justin. Hearing this is bananas to me.
Oh no, because I was Napoleon Dynamite kid. I didn't develop social skills until 11th grade.
Gotcha.
And so I was just the quiet kid who would say stuff that was either really smart or really weird and fucked up. And
I guess
watching Napoleon Dynamite was like, oh, it was uncomfortable because I didn't get that, like, again, the flyover weirdness. I am for better and for worse, a creature of suburbia. I very much got that lonely kid who doesn't click with anyone around him a lot. And it did, and rather than the bulk of people of just like kind of laughing at it as, oh, this guy's just weird, I just saw a very sad man who desperately longed for connection and couldn't and always struggled to make it.
I guess, like, because I know my friend Justin is a very intelligent man, and my friend Justin has, like, a lot of information that, like, every time he tells me about it, I'm like, whoa, like, I'm a dumb guy, but I guess I can see where, like, if you are a person who does not talk for majority of the day, and then the one time you do talk, it's with very intelligent, very good information about, like, falcons, then you'd be perceived as a weirdo, and you know, or something like that. So, like, I guess it makes sense to me now, but also, as I said, I did not know Justin before.
Getting weird praise from the teacher for just knowing what a liger is. Like, oh, Justin is so astute in class, like.
And Justin, again, when you say a liger, it's pretty much my favorite animal. It's a lion and a tiger mixed. People are gonna call you Napoleon Dynamite.
I know, and that fucking... Yeah, except I never saw him as an empowering figure, or at least a likable figure. I just saw him as this piece of shit.
I saw Napoleon as only worthy of scorn. This buffoon getting up on screen, showing us his ass, referring...
Yes. You've shown me your whole ass, Napoleon.
When Grandma tells him to make a damn quesadilla, it's as if she's telling the losers of the world to make a damn quesadilla.
Chickens don't have large talons. Just look at them.
The Moviez for Babies crew of Kevin, Justin, and Vern, like, by itself may not seem like a weird bunch, but if you group us as the people we were referred to and compared to growing up, if you refer to us instead of Kevin, Justin, and Vern, but instead Luke Skywalker, Napoleon Dynamite, and Harry Potter, what a weird group.
Yeah,
it's
that
weird
is
group.
A fan fiction. If I've ever... Some real Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny vibes coming from the Moviez for Babies crew.
So,
listeners, if you write it, we will read it.
We will read it on the air. So we got kind of sidetracked because, like, that whole thing was, like,
sorry,
crazy
I was
to me.
complaining about my childhood.
No, it's all good. That's part of what we do here on Moviez for Babies. But so you were saying that because you did not like Napoleon Dynamite, because you hated Napoleon Dynamite, you went into Gentleman Broncos with a different energy. Explain.
Yes, very much. Because, good God, I am fucking Benjamin. Because when you're quiet and you don't know how to talk to people, stories are the only way you can connect with anything. And fuck, man, and what I do find so interesting about Gentleman Broncos is it takes that very lonely perspective that I do think is a huge part of certainly the Midwest. Desperate is longing for connection and just really struggling to articulate it. But also combining that with the cynicism that comes from probably being fucked over a good number of times in show business.
That's interesting that you also bring that up, because that was one of the things that I really like. This is the third or fourth time I've seen this movie, and one of the things I really kind of took note of this time was this, like, this thing that kept happening where, like, the only people in Gentleman Broncos that are, like, consistently successful with making art are, like, crappy people. are people that take advantage of other people.
Yeah.
That
It's
are
not just
like,
that they're hacks; it's that they're thieves.
yes. And it just really struck me this time. And I think maybe like we're getting into territory that I wasn't planning on getting into until later, but I think that's part of like why this movie resonates with me so much, and I think that's why it resonated with me like on a subconscious or unconscious level, is that like y'all, we three, just despite whatever you might want to call it, like we're artists. We make art, and it might be like art that you kind of turn your nose up to, but we've all been consistently making things for a long time, and we're all making things that and I could be wrong here, and I understand that there's a bias because I'm involved with a lot of these things, but I think a lot of the art that we have made is good art. I think it's like not and there's a whole other thing, like, is there such a thing as good art or bad art or whatever, but like I think everything we make is competent, and I think everything we make is beyond kind of what some other folks that we know do. But Puffin's been going on for 5 years now, and we released an entire web series, an hour-long web series, and we've done other projects together, but we've kind of like toiled in obscurity. And part of what's been kind of hard about this art making process, this whole thing of being an artist, is watching people that we know who are both hacks and thieves and crummy people do well. And I think and make art without struggle and make art without tribulation. And that's really hard to digest sometimes.
The way I see it, we live in a time that is technically the best time to be an artist. Because the means of production are more accessible and easier to do than ever before. And it is far easier to reach out and connect and find an audience now than ever before. The problem is that art is something that I think is fundamental in all humanity. And everyone is in some way wants to be an artist. But the majority of people who want to be artists aren't willing to put in the time, the talent, or the effort to learn to become good artists. And so we live in a time where not only is there just is bad art more accessible than ever before, but the good art has to compete with each other now even harder than ever before. Which makes it hard to find art that resonates with you, and almost more importantly, it's even harder to make money doing it. Because if there's one of the fundamental laws of art is that capital hates paying the artist.
Yes. They hate paying the artist, and a lot of consumers of art don't understand what goes into making art. And they don't understand that, like, to write a novel, like, I don't know, there's a lot of people that hear, like, what artists want for their art, and they're like, I could do it for that. And it's all based out of a complete lack of knowledge of what goes into making it, whatever it is. And it's crazy how much art has been devalued in our lifetime, especially coming in after a year where a good portion of the country all they could do is sit around the house and consume art. It's a sad lack of knowledge and understanding that, like, I don't know. It's people. It's a common American problem where people who think they know better actually don't, but they're vocal about it.
I think it's not just that. I do like the concept of pragmatism as an ideology did get its start in America, and it's a very, frontier ideology of, you only use what is like bare necessities and only what is most consistently and overly useful and materially useful. And art is not material, but it is very important. And so I think America, the United States, has just this kind of twisted relationship with art where it tries to justify its utility in mostly material terms rather than engage with it on the abstract terms required to engage with art. Like, liking art for art's sake isn't really allowed, except for the most economically comfortable people.
Yeah. There's this, I think I've maybe talked about this on the show before, but I have a cousin who has made his art, made a living through art for a very long time. He's traveled because of his art. He's done, like, he spent a year of his life working on a soap opera in, like, Taiwan.
What? That's rad.
Yeah, he's traveled, and that's just one place he's traveled with his art. He's been on like a German version of Germany's Got Talent. He's traveled for a long time. He continually makes a living doing art, but and it pays the bills, and he's able to keep a roof over his head and all this stuff. But, like, he still has this from his parents where they're like, when are you going to get a real job? Not like, it's like he has a real job. It's art, but it's a real job. And some folks don't understand that. Did we completely lose Kevin?
No, I've been quiet because in my substance-addled state, I guess I've just been trying to formulate how to tell you guys that I hated this movie.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I'm trying to not, be relentlessly negative on, like, the community pod when they want to start talking about shit I don't care about, like Stranger Things. I just stay quiet. I'm not here to, like, shit on things that people enjoy.
I will say, Kevin, I did not especially like this movie.
Okay.
No, this is better than, say, Scoob.
Well, that's not fair. Not fair. This is better than Sonic.
It's better than Sonic. But honestly, after that, I did not have a good time last night watching the movie where a snake takes a giant shit on Mike White. No, yeah, I didn't. I didn't.
I will say the gross out stuff is easily the lowest point. Watching the protagonist puke into a trash can and then do a big old smooch to the technically romantic interest,
who then
swallows. And that's a whole other point to go into.
Who then swallows. I mean, like, I was like, okay, Jared Hess, you wanted to do the Napoleon Dynamite gang again, and obviously your lead, the guy from Sky High, has, like, a different energy than John, but then it's like, oh, we have a Mexican guy that talks funny, and we have
big
our...
mouth and he makes big shapes with it.
Yeah, and we have our horribly underwritten female lead. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Manipulative bitch.
I sat there and I laughed maybe one time.
Really?
this movie is not funny to me. Okay, because like I could have really been into Jared Hess remaking the movie Big Fat Liar, right? Okay, I could.
I didn't want to say it, but that is the plot of the film.
I could be really into Jared Hess remaking Big Fat Liar. I could be really into Jared Hess ripping off Be Kind Rewind from his buddy Jack Black, and it be about these guys making, weird, bad, independent sci-fi movies. I could be into the, drama about the kid and his mom. His, weird popcorn mom.
As two struggling artists.
Right. And I could be into a guy exploring his own life, and we keep cutting to the sci-fi story he's writing with Sam Rockwell. But, because they try to do all of it, none of it resonates with me at all. I was an hour into this movie, and I was like, when does the movie start? When does he steal the book? When are we gonna do it? Vern, I'm sorry. I know this is one of your favorite movies. And then there's a shootout scene with this guy,
right?
Who
right.
I do not know who that guy
fake
is.
Darts and
who is that guy that he shot?
Because we're casting because apparently nightgown designers need to do the casting couch to get their nightgowns into department
That's who that
stores.
guy was?
Yeah,
he was.
He was the biggest. He was the biggest nightgown distributor in the tri-state area.
Yeah. Whenever Stifler's mom, Jennifer Coolidge, is crying in her car, she says my nightgowns will never make it into pennies. Implying J.C. Penney's.
Yeah, sure. And I could have been into hey, all the homeschoolers are on a weird bus trip together. But then that's just one scene. And I did not have a good time.
Or a son trying to reconnect with his father by writing a science fiction story about it.
Sure. Any of those.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really do any of those effectively for me. And you have this huge section of the movie which is just Sam Rockwell doing some funny voices.
He's Zaphod Beeblebrox again.
Yeah, he's just doing Zaphod again, just with a different accent. He just spans the whole, and those elements don't line up for me because it doesn't seem like the version that either our protagonist or Jermaine Clement would have envisioned. Right? If I guess we're supposed to be this is their, iteration of the story. But why would the Sky High Kids version of the story be he has a terrible Southern accent? And why would Jermaine Clement's version of the story, he's a mincing stereotype?
That I think is... Well, yeah, again, I think if the biggest issue with Genuine Broncos is it has a lot on its mind. And it can't decide what it wants to talk about. Because the fact that the kid writes the clear father insert as a man with no gonads but nevertheless coded very masculine, while Jermaine Clement's Orson Wellesian hack character writes the emasculated hero as coded very gay and effeminate. There's something to that, but the movie just doesn't go into it enough to explore it, at least in my opinion.
Here's how I take it.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Purvis's version of this novel is the Yeast Wars or Yeast Lords, whereas Chevalier's version of this story is Brutus and Balzac, and I think there's some how do I put this? I don't think it's handled super gracefully, because I think it's kind of a I don't know how to put this.
You think it's a you think he's coded gay?
Well, no. What I think it is Ronald Chevalier steals Benjamin Purvis's book and makes it his own thing. And in Chevalier's version, it's called Brutus and Balzac. It really it plays up a lot of different themes that are not in Yeast Wars. It is a literal perversion of Benjamin Purvis's art. And I think it's just more like supposed to, those sequences where Sam Rockwell is, you know, mincing about, as you said, like, I think that's more supposed to paint that picture that this is
it was 2009 when being gay was still a punchline, and that's not a knock on the movie. That's just the culture.
It's Kevin and I have talked about this before, where there was a time in a young kid's life, especially if they grew up in the Midwest, where everything is gay. We talked about this on a Kevern, and unfortunately for a lot of Midwest people, when they use the term, and I don't believe this, but when they use the term like "that's gay," they use it in place of like "that's bad."
That sucks.
Bad. This sucks, and like. I kind of think this is like Benjamin Purvis's worldview, where like Brutus and Balzac is, for lack of a better word, super gay, as in like a super bad wrong version of what he wanted.
Like there's definitely a theme of like masculinity in the movie, where Benjamin or Benji is kind of, he wants to be a man, and he's like preoccupied with his dead father's masculinity, and then like the people that seem to be most opposed to him or interfere with him the most are either Tabitha, who's just this kind of manipulative woman who's kind of into him, but maybe just for his art or not. It's not clear. The romance is not well written, if it's there. And then there's the androgynous Luli. And then Chevalier, who is not super masculine. He's that kind of soft masculinity because he's always wearing like jewelry and like pastels.
Yeah, and turtlenecks. And then, you know, there's also the Mike White character. No one will, I don't know any characters' names. Mike White.
But Dusty, who's still masculine, but still but in a very androgynous way, because he has very long hair, and he's like,
very long, beautiful,
like kind of
hair,
like slender.
And he's like teaching him, you know, how to shoot, which is like, you know, that's a traditionally like masculine activity. There's a weird thing, like. It's a joke I didn't understand, where he's dubbed over in the final, you know, the Yeast Lords movie.
Well, that's
with like
just
an
like
Irish
a shitty,
brogue.
like that's just a shitty thing. I think that's just framed as, oh, he got fucked over by the androgynous director too, who, for the record, like wears like, who is like usually wearing male coded clothes, but then wears female coded clothes in the movie.
Right, he plays a woman in the movie, and he's always referring to his own breasts. So there certainly is like a through line of masculinity, you know, but it's not a through line that the movie is interested in real commentary on. It's just kind of a thing that is there.
It's implied that, and it may not be implied, it might be stated, but like that Benjamin Purvis's father died very young, and the only thing we see a photo of his father, and his father looks like Hagrid from Harry Potter.
Yes.
And they say like in a line of dialogue that he was a game warden. And right away, like in Yeast Lords, you know, like they travel around on like deer. And
but not just deer, it's stags. It's the masculine
bucks,
deer
yes.
that are designed explicitly for battle.
Yes. And I think there's this, like, something going on there where, like, I don't think Benjamin Purvis knew his father or knew his father very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, his book is an adaptation of his father. That is, because it's an adaptation, there's a element of removal from the original. Mm-hmm. And then there's adaptations upon adaptations in different directions. And things are getting further and further away from what the original are supposed to be. It's like a game of telephone, almost.
Like the way Chevalier is like a false father figure?
Yes. But also, so is Mike White's character.
Mm-hmm.
Runner-up to Survivor David versus Goliath, Mike White. Alleged Survivor cheater, Mike White. There's a lot of themes of masculine, and there's a masculinity, and one of the things that keeps popping up is, like, every time this gets emulated or copied or reproduced or adapted, it is different and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something interesting and fascinating there. Kevin, you said you laughed one time at the movie.
I have been
What was that
trying
time?
to remember what that time was, and it's not coming to me.
Was it not? Now, okay.
I want you to guess, because you've seen it more than I have. I assume
Do you remember
it was something...
who made you laugh?
I was just thinking I assume it's something Jermaine did at one point, but I can't recall what it might be.
Was it him saying moon fetus like Tim Curry?
It was probably Trajanus is probably
Trajanus
something like that. But
Now,
it's a bad sign that I watched this yesterday, and I can't all that's coming to my mind is just like a snake violently shitting all over Mike White. Just like I haven't seen. Now this was obviously a movie from fucking
2009.
12 years ago. So, but I haven't seen a movie where someone takes that kind of shit in like a long time.
Well,
we're talking like
gross out humor is all but gone in our babified, hypersanitized culture.
Well, that's certainly true. Where movies are about asexual Ken dolls that defeat giant beams of light in the sky.
By beaming
it's like
at 'em.
I feel like there must be something. I didn't make it all the way to Scary Movie 5. I would put money down on somebody gets poopy thrown on them in Scary Movie 5. Because that's just something that might happen in Scary Movie 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a lot. I was like shocked because I was like, God, when was the last time I was like watching a movie and someone like threw up on someone? Like, when was the last
maybe
time?
American Vandal?
I didn't see that. So that
there's like a whole season that's like true crime, but it's about poop.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say I'm sure that you guys, maybe Justin, is familiar with Jim Hosking. He made two movies, The Greasy Strangler and An Evening with Beverly Loughlin.
I saw An Evening with Beverly Loughlin. It was when I worked in housing at a film program a couple summers ago. That was a movie one of the RAs put on. That was the longest movie watching experience of my entire and that movie has
another movie that I love.
and that movie has fucking Aubrey Plaza. It has Craig Robinson. It has Matt Berry. And it's like, honestly, the same thing with this movie, where it feels like the performers were not given 1 ounce of direction. It was just like, do whatever you want. Do whatever voice you want. Deliver any line in any way.
Well, no, yeah, because the air it's shooting for isn't accurate or authentic, it's uncanny. And just because that's just because that is kind of a marketing thing. It's what sucks in a lot of people. Is just it's Tim and Eric shit. It's seeing something that is almost like a real movie or a real TV show, but it's just off enough to keep your attention.
Tim and Eric is another thing I don't understand. I'll say it right here. I didn't really like I Think You Should Leave. It's the same joke the whole time. I'm losing my mind.
Wowee.
You don't like watching men just yell at increasing volumes?
No, I don't. I don't like it. And I think Tim is funny in other things. He's very funny on that one episode of Documentary Now where they're bowling and he keeps yelling, "Suck my sack." That's comedy. That's comedy. And Dexter is a guy who loves Alf from the TV show Alf. And I think his wife loves Alf. He hates Alf because Alf does not have good Christian values.
I've never seen it. It sounds super funny.
It's the last episode of Documentary Now. Would recommend that one.
A show that is more concerned with duplication than being funny.
Correct.
Yeah.
100% correct.
That's why I've not watched a lot of Documentary Now.
Watch that one. Watch the bowling one. It's funny.
I know, us three have worked together in creative endeavors for a long time, and in several different shapes and ways. There's been Kevin and Vern joints. There's been Kevin and Justin joints. There's been Vern and Justin joints. There's Kevin by himself. There's all sorts of things.
Kevin solo play. Kevin webcam. Kevin
and Justin's sonic psychic miasma.
And Vern's Black Mambazo. Sorry,
it's all good. And I know Kevin. I know both of you guys, but I know Kevin's sensibilities a little bit better because Kevin and I live together, and also
we wrote scripts together. You know, we
did Doom to You together.
Yeah.
And that was a endeavor. And so I've always known that Kevin and I's kind of tastes are different. And Doom to You is kind of like the middle of that Venn diagram. And so I knew, watching it last night, there were definitely watching Gentlemen Broncos last night, there were definitely points where I was like, I have a sense that Kevin would not care for this. I didn't realize I was so off base that you would completely hate it. Because I thought Sam Rockwell makes a meal out of everything in this movie, and
yes.
So I thought my thinking going into this recording was that Kevin was going to say he loved the Sam Rockwell stuff but hated everything else.
Conceptually, you are correct.
Okay.
On a premise level, that was good money to put down. Love Sam Rockwell, basically everything. It was just, I couldn't get it. It was honestly like watching Tim and Eric, where it's so unmoored from even a base concept that I had trouble latching on to what was funny. Does that make sense? That my problem with Tim and Eric is just stuff happening. It's just here's more stuff. What if this stuff happened? And I'm like, I guess maybe it'd be interesting if some stuff happened. But I
would argue that Tim and that one of the as someone who likes Tim and Eric, one of their major faults is it's not, more often than not, stuff just isn't just happening. They're making fun of or giving pastiche to hyper specific stuff, like public access TV, to shitty DVDs you get at the grocery store, to as their show, Beef Boys with just hyper formulaic sitcoms with Decker being shitty conservative action movies, or on cinema just public access review shows or bad YouTube channels of reviewers. They're hyper specific in which means if you don't immediately connect with that and see the humor in what they're replicating and riffing on, you're not going to find it funny, which, considering how weird and specific energies they go for, I absolutely understand.
But it's their stuff is reliant on your a relationship to that in a way that, say, Wayne's World is not. Even though Wayne's World is the same, like, we are making a shitty TV show in our basement, but you could have no relationship to public access TV because you're 9 fucking years old and, like, Wayne's World connects with you perfectly. Like there's something about, I need a little more, and this is, I'm not saying what is good and what is bad, but I need a little more structure and a little more formula to really grasp onto something. Otherwise, I just feel unmoored. I feel untethered. And comedy specifically, because I can do some, like, I love the movie Wings of Desire, which is like just complete, like a tone poem, like it's just, there's barely any through line carrying us together through that movie. I can enjoy stuff like that, but with comedy, I'm like, I'm not laughing because I'm not aware of the base sensibility of what is going on.
Right.
And comedy is super subjective.
Yes, Tim and Eric, if anything, have built an entire career out of rejecting any historical formula or comedic sensibility.
No, it was just like, and like, we talked about this recently because Tim Heidecker is on an episode of Community, that like, I like a lot of stuff Tim Heidecker's name is on. Like, I think absolutely has produced a lot of stuff that I really fucking enjoy, like Andy Daly's Review, or there's any number of other examples, but like, I really...
Comedy Bang Bang the TV show.
Comedy Bang Bang the TV show. Which I found a little, I haven't seen all of it, but like, yeah, I like Comedy Bang Bang, the TV show. But like, there's just something about like the base divorce from that, any structure at all. And other people seem to love it. And it seems to like bring them a lot of joy. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not telling anyone that like your taste in comedy is bad. But it's just, it does not grasp on for me at all. Like, I think, to even use another Jared Hess example, that, like, I think Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite is, like, a great character. Because there is some base sensibility, there is some base reality, there is some... I understand what the joke is to Rex Kwon Do. I understand what the joke is to Uncle Rico. I understand, Jared Hess has been defined by whether something is too much or too little, like Napoleon Dynamite. But, like, I understand the base comedic reality of Kif. Or Kip. Kif is Futurama, Kip is Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
But I understand what is funny about them. I don't understand what is funny about Sam Rockwell doing a gay guy voice. That's what I don't understand.
Well, like, the Napoleon Dynamite stuff is also much more grounded in reality. Like, it's much more playing off flyover country tropes of, the shitty white martial artists, or the or the burnout athlete. While, like, the stuff in Gentlemen Broncos is, like, it's, like, the Sam Rockwell stuff, Gentlemen Broncos leans much more heavily into the artifice of film. Like, it's much more kitschy, and it's much more almost campy than the
Which
very
I don't even...
boiled to the bone discomfort and... almost comedic grimness of Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, like, and I don't hate camp, right? Or like I don't like there's actually a lot about the way that Jared does movies that feels like, what if Wes Anderson never got a budget? You know, what if Wes Anderson was stuck at Bottle Rocket level forever? And like, what would his movies look like? Maybe kind of like this. And like there's my favorite of his movies, you know, they're also like playing Arch. They're playing these wild characters with names, but there's like some, I guess there is just some like emotionality or groundedness to it that keeps me moored in a way that where like Jermaine, as much as I love Jermaine, like he's hilarious in Flight of the Conchords and What We Do in the Shadows and like all this shit, he's just so not connected to anything. And I'm like, yes, it is funny to end a character's name with anus. That all you got for me? That it for your bad guy character?
I think what sets Jared Hess, and especially this in Gentlemen Broncos, because I think a good comparison to at least Gentlemen Broncos is to Wes Anderson, is that it lacks Wes Anderson's energy and precision.
Indeed.
Because his stuff is very high energy, but it's very, you know, it's Swiss watch filmmaking. Everything ratchets into itself at a very specific way. And Gentlemen Broncos feels a very loose movie. Goes at a very lazy pace, and which pretty much dissuades any real tension, which, considering the relatively small stakes of the movie, aren't totally necessary, but it does make for just a slower, more meditative watch, which would benefit if it spent any time ruminating on its half-dozen themes, which it just doesn't, and instead just does its knockoff Doctor Who sequences, which I like, but would like better if they kind of tied into anything.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I don't want to just like repeat myself ad nauseum, but I just like, there is a certain point where I'm just like, I just don't even understand what the joke is. I don't even understand like the blend of, and it is the Hess blend of like, this is a very lackadaisical style of filmmaking. No one's in a hurry to do much of anything. No one is in which is again not inherently wrong. Like, you're allowed to just like take it. Not everything has to be like chop, 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 chop. But like that style mixed with cartoon characters.
Well, not just cartoon. Again, it's a send up of a very specific thing, which is uncomfortably horny pulp sci-fi from the 60s and 70s.
Which I enjoy.
Yes.
I quite like pent-up horny sci-fi of the 60s and 70s. I'm a Logan's Run, Barbarella. Like, these are movies I legitimately put on.
Not the movies, the books.
Oh, the books,
like Jack Vance and
sure, Edgar Rice
and the Swords of Lankmar and
John
and Michael
Carter of
Moorcock,
Mars,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of where you look at the cover and it's a sexy spaceman and always a slave girl somehow.
Yes.
Always a white slave girl.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. That's why like cover art is such a big thing, because those books from that period had a very distinct cover art style and
I love those.
Yeah.
And I like basically all the posters for like film projects I do are like riffs on old pulp covers of some genre or another. Like, I love those. That's something I understand. Weird, horny sci-fi authors. It's just there wasn't really a take here. And honestly, tweak this a little bit and make it fully for kids, and like, yeah, you got a movie on your hands. Which is Big Fat Liar, to be fair, but like, maybe tilt that world fully to PG and make this one that can play on Nickelodeon. I don't know. I don't know. No, it's PG-13. A snake
PG?
takes a giant shit. They have, like, testicles in the movie. There's a... You see Sam Rockwell's testicles, like, in a jar.
Admittedly, because they
true.
kept calling it as gonad. I thought they were
Remember
talking
when Jennifer
purely in
Coolidge
scientific
is
terms.
selling her country balls 2 for $1 and they're in a big ball sack? You can't do that on Nickelodeon.
I mean, they say ass in hell and
As well
shit
they
in
should.
George
He's
of
a
the Jungle.
filthy jungle man. He would not have our city manners.
The original Bad News Bears, which is a children's movie, drops an N-bomb in the trailer.
Walther, yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, Kevin, at one point you said something. You said that you used the term unmoored. Thanks, and I really liked that. Of course, that's all I wanted to say. No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what both of you guys are saying. The thing that I kind of, and we were talking about Tim and Eric at one point. I enjoy Tim and Eric up into a point. I like Tom Goes to the Mayor. I like the first half of Awesome Show, and then after that I kind of fall off. And so there is a limit with me, and Kevin does not care for the works of Jim Hosking.
Who?
I do enjoy Jim Hosking is who did
I do not care.
An Evening with Beverly Loughlin and a
fruits.
Tropical. One and I don't know what I'm saying, but you said unmoored, and I really liked that because you're right in that Jermaine Clement's character is so far removed kind of from everything else in this movie. You're right in that the love interests kind of so far, but like the way I just kind of internalize that with this movie is just having been a person that goes to film school or who's been to film school. Everyone in this movie, with the exception of the main character, is so far up their own ass and so far into their own work that they don't care about anything else.
Yep.
So they all feel, keeping with the science fiction theme, they all kind of feel like distant planets. And the only person in the movie who strives to make any kind of connection with anyone is the main character. And he struggles as a person, and he struggles as an artist. And I think it kind of feels like it's because he's trying to connect, and because he's trying to like do the right things and say the right things, trying to help out other people on their projects with an open mind, with the idea of like, yeah, I'll be in your weirdo movie trailer for a romance, and I'll do the best I can. And like, he's so nervous about how he appears in that trailer later on in the movie that he vomits. And like, he cares about his art, and he cares about like, he seems like he wants to do the best that he can. He wants to do the best that he can for his mom. He wants to do the best that he can in this weirdo movie trailer. He wants the adaptation of his work to be the best that it can be. Like, for an audience, so much so that like he doesn't even want to go to the premiere of the film version of Yeast Lords, because like he doesn't feel like it's like the best version of itself. Like, he cares intently about more than just himself, and he struggles because of that.
Oh yeah.
And
sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's something I can relate to. And then also, a thing that I related to, having gone to the film school that I went to, having gone to the section of Film 2 that I went to, a section of Film 2 that Kevin was also in, totally can relate and understand like the frustration that comes from a scene in which an instructor gives critiques on works having not read the works.
My God, this guy, this fucking guy.
All right, story.
Film 2, which is, there's a 3-step of making movies at Webster University, and the second step is film 2, and the first half of class you make movie, second half of class you edit movie, and of course, like early on, everyone's like written their scripts for their projects, and it's time to like critique the scripts before anybody films anything. But the teacher specifically said, I don't read any of these. I have your classmate read them, and then I give critiques based on what your classmate says. So he's noting a script he has not read and just kind of taken someone's word for it. These are 10-page scripts.
That is how that is. Well, isn't that how?
Yeah, but like, I'm not
operate?
paying an executive tuition.
I guess
I'm not paying them. They're paying me.
It's literally the scene in this. It's literally the scene in this movie where Jermaine Clement or Chevalier is like telling that little girl like she's wrong for naming the troll character Teacup and not Trajanus. But he's not read her work and he doesn't understand the tone.
The context.
The context, and there's this notion throughout the movie where like people kind of feel like art should be one way, and it's their way. And that's speaking more to like the self-centered nature of a lot of these characters, and how they kind of like cutthroat and kind of ruthless in making things their way. And so like, I don't know, like, I kind of see this movie, and it's not a note for note recreation, not perfect, but to me it really just like, for lack of a better word, like reeks of the experience that like trying to make art and being in the art world is. And like the female character in this movie, the love interest, like I have met so many people precisely like her. Just like kind
Does
of.
she have enough traits for people to be similar to her? Okay.
Absolutely. I think so. She takes advantage. I'm not one of these people that's saying like all women take it. I'm not.
They're
one of
gonna
those
take your money for tampons and buy chips with them.
I do have a very funny story about that later on, related to film school, and I'll be happy to share it here with you. But she's very pretentious, and she thinks her art is very important. And later on, like, we hear her novel being read, and it's hog shit. And she only takes an interest in Benjamin Purvis when like it's beneficial. And I've experienced that a lot. I'm not saying that's a thing I've experienced from women. It's a thing I've experienced just from other artists where they take an interest in helping you, working with you, if it will benefit them. And of course, like, art is a collaborative nature, and it's a business. I understand that, but like, there are a lot of folks I've encountered that are of that kind of mind. She was all in on the filmmaker because the filmmaker was getting things done. But then things started going the other way for Benjamin Purvis, and then she was interested. And I'm not saying that's just a female characteristic. I think that's an artist characteristic.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think that's things like that are a lot of why I really latch onto this movie and I really appreciate it. It's just like, it feels so much like the experience of trying to make art, of kind of going into the art world kind of green and kind of like a babe in the woods, kind of going into the art world without thick skin, going into the art world as like someone who wants like, I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna be a good book and it's gonna do these good things, like the experience of kind of like an optimist going into a cynical world or a pessimistic world or something. I can relate a lot to like, unfortunately, I can relate a lot to like being taken advantage of, because just being perceived as a mark because of art that you want to make, and I think that's why it registers with me, and maybe it's just a thing where it's just like, because I've had a lot of experiences similar to the ones in the film, and I've met a lot of people similar to those that are in the film, that my mind kind of just fills in the blanks on a lot of things. And I'm not saying that like, and this is not me saying like, well, you guys don't get it because you're not true artists. I'm not saying that at all. Just, we all live life at different, life is a staggered marathon, and we all encounter different things at different times, and we all have different experiences,
Oh, no, I absolutely get where you're coming from. I think the stuff about, just the struggles of being an artist from Benji's perspective are I think the strongest elements to the movie. Like, God, when he sells the film rights to Yeast Wars, and tries to cash the check, and finds out he can't cash it till the following year.
Yeah,
like that like clangs of, oh, that's absolutely happened to Hess, or like anyone who, because that just like, oh, because again, no one likes paying the artist. And and that's actually becoming a growing thing for authors, is that they don't get part of their advance until the book's published, which means they have way less fucking money to go off of, because they need those advances to live off while they're writing.
Yeah.
So like, it's just it's like, and Benjamin is getting taken advantage of a lot, but but I do like that the movie does take a minute to show that Chevalier is still struggling too, like the supposed hero, this like supposed genius of sci-fi, isn't doing too well either. And even he is still insecure in his position as an artist.
Enough so that he's willing to plagiarize someone.
Exactly.
Whenever later on in the movie he says, "I hate plagiarists,"
which is
he becomes something like, his pursuit of trying to make art makes him the thing he hates.
Exactly.
Which is something that unfortunately, I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Right, which is kind of why the ending rings a little hollow for me, because the ending is that, his mom's been copywriting his books the whole time, and he always had the rights to them. And he ends up becoming a bestseller, when, like, that felt almost a little too optimistic and a little too clean for a movie that I do think does take a very unromantic look at making art and telling a story.
I did feel like it was kind of, and I could be wrong, but like, all it shows, to my knowledge, to my recollection, all it shows is Chevalier's books being taken off the shelves, and Purvis's books being put on the shelves. Yes. I don't think it explicitly mentions that he makes any money off of it or that he's successful.
That's fair.
And so, like, I kind of interpret it as, like, because the way I'm kind of thinking it is, like, A Million Little Pieces was a fabrication, but it still... it still made money, and it's still successful. And the thing that made it right, who knows what that was, and who knows, you know what I mean? Like, if there was a book that came out to make A Million Little Pieces right, you know, that if it is, it's a footnote.
The guy who wrote the game wrote a follow-up about how pickup artistry ruined his life and ruined and really made his ability to emotionally connect with people a lot harder. But no one reads that, but they still sell copies of the game.
Yeah. And I think, like, I'm a big fan of David Lynch's work.
Depends.
And I know Kevin is not so much.
I go back and forth.
There's a quote that he has, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember it exactly, but it's one that I think about a lot, which is, he says that, like, people expect movies to make sense. Why do people expect movies to make sense when life doesn't make sense, and they accept that? And I think that, like, a lot of the, like, things like this movie, and An Evening with Beverly Loughlin, and, like, I Think You Should Leave, and the first whatever of Tim and Eric and I, like, a lot of the comedy that I like and I've laughed very hard at, and Kevin was in the room for, that he had no reaction to whatsoever, is all stuff that, like, for lack of a better term, is kind of based in insanity, and doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think, like, I don't know how to put this other than this way, and there's no way for it to not sound pretentious or whatever, but, like, unfortunately, I can relate to trying to stay sane in insane circumstances, and unfortunately, I can relate to, you know, just, like, people bursting out and screaming over nothing at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's take art that we've made together. One of Kevin's most famous characters, or most recurring characters, whatever, is, like, Jane Austen, and one of mine is Mark Twain, and they are two completely different energies, and they are both different, like, they're different flavors of insanity, but if you break down both Kevin's Jane Austen and my Mark Twain, like, Kevin's Jane Austen is going to register as more familiar to the real thing than my Mark Twain would, I think.
Although the kind of joke with your Mark Twain, and, like, and also with, like, Kevin and a lot of my character, and really half of Puffin, is that the joke is that the voice and character does not match with them.
This is true. And that's, maybe we're getting off topic, but, like, part of what I really like about Puffin is that it's every single type of comedy that's ever been conceived in one show, and, like, including, like, even though we're in audio format, we've still done slapstick. Like,
we've done
every kind of... Yes, exactly. It's every kind of comedy, and by themselves, they may not correlate and make sense, but together they do. I feel that way about Gentlemen Broncos, in that, like, there are a lot of disparate elements and different themes that get touched on a little or get touched on a lot. But just, like, for me, the way they've blended this milkshake is a way that is that I enjoy on my taste buds. But, you know, like, some people like chocolate. Some people like Rocky Road, and some people like sorbet. I don't know.
Gelato.
Gelato. Yeah. I don't know.
No,
I don't know if any of that made any
it.
sense whatsoever.
Yeah. No, it absolutely
it
did.
makes sense. It's not that I don't like insanity or like weird stuff, but like, I mean, one, Lynch is not making straight up comedies. You know what I mean? Like, they're their own beasts, truly. But there's something about them that is like, I don't know. I just think the alchemy is better. The vision is more certain. Even like, I don't enjoy watching Eraserhead one bit, but I'm like, you sure went full hog on this idea. Like, I could not accuse you of like half measures or not having an idea. And whether or not I groove with the idea or whether or not I enjoy watching the idea, I'm like, you were doing a thing. And this, I mean, it's just a problem I have with this, that I was just like, you're not doing much of anything for me in any which way direction. It's not insane enough, nor is it constrained enough. It just kind of exists in this nether space for me. But you know, I'm glad you have a movie to enjoy. But yeah, when we were looking over the Hess filmography at the beginning, what I was dancing around was like, yeah, this movie, nobody liked it, and it, like, then he never recovered. Like,
this movie absolutely tanked in the box office.
It tanked, and I think... Go ahead.
And
Canadian standoff.
Go ahead. No.
I think that it was, like, neither the advertising nor the movie gave a good presentation of what the movie was, and even, like, Napoleon Dy-No-mite, which is essentially a disconnected series of ideas. There was something, I guess, definable about that guy and the way he looked. And you know, vote for Pedro was a t-shirtable catchphrase. But there's just, like, I remember seeing the ads for this, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? What is happening?
Security does.
And then, like, Don Verdean sort of just, like, appeared one day. I didn't even, like, catch an ad for Don Verdean. And then Masterminds was in that Logan Lucky era of redneck crime. Like, what if country people did crime? And it just, unfortunately, it just didn't take off with anybody.
For what it's worth, if you've not seen it, Kevin, I think you'd really like Don Verdean. But it's very much not what Gentleman Broncos is. It's stripped back. It's stripped back as far as like a full-on Jared Hess-ness. But like, this is something that Kevin and I talk. We're just going to talk about every piece of art all of us have ever made together ever.
Great.
At one point on a podcast, Kevin and I were talking about the Coen brothers. And Kevin really likes Barton Fink. And I think Barton Fink's all right. It's good. But I really like Eraserhead. And Kevin's like, it's a thing. But also, Eraserhead and Barton Fink are kind of the same movie. And I'm not disparaging either or of them. I think it just, like, shakes out to, like, sensibilities. If you break it down, Coke and Pepsi are the same drink. But, you know, if I go to a place and they have Pepsi, I'll ask for water instead. If that makes any sense at all.
It does check out, and that's why I've tried to, as much as I can, like, account for sensibilities here, where I was like, this did not gel for me one bit, but you know, that could be, comedy's very subjective. It's chalked up to taste. You know, some people love epic movie. Some people don't, and that's just the way it goes. Speaking of another Jennifer Coolidge joint, underused Jennifer Coolidge in this film. Not enough of the Coolidge.
I think just as in general, Jennifer Coolidge underused.
Oh yeah,
not enough Jennifer Coolidge.
Well, I like that they actually use Jennifer Coolidge for drama, which she is woefully underutilized for.
That's certainly true. I like her. She always kills, and Party Down, and she's the best. We love her. All the Christopher Guest joints that she finds herself in. Nothing but respect for Jennifer.
Legally Blonde. What can we say?
What can we say? American Pie. What can we say? Bobbleheads the movie. What can we say? Not just Two Broke Girls. 124 episodes of Two Broke Girls. I guess she was a big
She doesn't
player.
need to work a day in her life anymore.
No, not after 124 episodes of Two Broke Girls, baby. She got that Two Broke Girl. She's not a broke girl anymore.
One rich woman. Two broke girls, one rich woman.
One rich woman. Actually, probably several rich women, because you got Kat Dennings.
Yes.
You have the other lead of Two Broke Girls. The girl.
The blonde one.
The other girl. One is...
the other broke girl.
Yeah, the other girl. The other... That's my favorite sequel to The Other Boleyn Girl is The Other Broke
Girl.
It's a romance drama about the two broke girls trying to fuck a king or whatever. Bad episode. Throw it in the trash. Game over. Game over, man. Game over.
Well, this was a good
No,
episode.
it was fine. I'm just kidding.
I do think it's very interesting how I've read that, like, we were talking about Netflix at one point.
Boo.
And I've read that, like, I don't think Napoleon Dynamite is on Netflix anymore, but whenever it was on, or back whenever Netflix was just discs, whenever it was just discs you get via the mail. Still it is. Back when it was just that, I had heard that, like, at one point, how do I put this? It's like Napoleon Dynamite was just, like, one of the hardest things for Netflix to kind of, like, incorporate into their algorithm. Like, Nicole and I have been watching Star Trek, and because we've watched all of the original series and all the animated series, and we're on the second to last season of The Next Generation, Netflix is like, all right, well, you got to check out Deep Space Nine, you got to check out Voyager, but then it's also, you got to check out Lost in Space, you got to check out, and it's able to curate things it recommends to us based on what we've watched. And from what I understand, that, like, Napoleon Dynamite for Netflix was a big spanner in the works. Was this big thing where it's just like, we don't know who to recommend this to. We don't know who's going to like it and who's not going to like it. We don't know what to do with it. It's just a very polarizing thing. And so it's kind of fitting that another Jared Hess thing is very polarizing on this show, where we talk about media and media consumption. I don't think it's a bad episode. I do feel bad that I asked you guys to watch it. Because I generally want to be a person that brings happiness into the world. And so
I think Gentlemen Broncos is generally like my current relationship with Napoleon Dynamite, in that I think I prefer talking about them than actually watching them. And hearing what people have to say having watched them.
Sure. Justin is the middle head, and I am, Justin is in purgatory. Vern is in heaven and I'm in hell, and that's just the way it goes. I'm a little sinner. I'm a little sinner down here in hell.
Well, I don't know.
Just getting munched on by Satan.
That's right. And it's the
related
South Park
to,
Satan, and that guy's fucked up.
Yeah.
Sex with Saddam Hussein.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I related a lot to this movie, and I related to being fucked over by people I care about. So maybe I'm the one that's in hell and you're the one that's in
No,
heaven.
oh.
But
Movie heaven, but real hell. You know what I mean?
yeah, but yeah, I guess yeah, it's two different things.
Two different ones.
I guess like I don't know if probably out of every episode that we've done, if there's ever an episode that people are like, well, I guess I got to see this movie, it's this one because
apparently it's a litmus test and it reacts to what you bring to
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
It is a movie
Are
without.
you a Vern, a Kevin, or a Justin? Post in your comments which host you are.
And then also while you're in the comment thread, do a bang, marry, kill of all three of us. Which one would you bang?
Oh,
which one
please.
which one would you kill?
Oh my god, yes.
Just out of curiosity.
Please. All right, fuck, marry,
Can't I bang
kill.
and marry you both and then kill myself?
Yeah.
Broncos, and never main reppin' for the Broncos, and never main we reppin' for the Broncos.
She a rude girl. All right, now behind the camera. Fuck, marry, kill. Creator of HBO's Enlightened, Mike White. Writer of Orange County, Mike White. Or screenplay for the Emoji Movie, Mike White. Fuck, marry, kill.